Okay, good evening, Michaela. Thanks for joining and being in today's class. We're going to start the class right now, all right? But tell me, how was your weekend? How did you spend these days, Michaela? Is everything all right?
Yes, teacher, thank you. All is okay.
Good, that's great to know. Let's begin then. We need to continue working with transitional words. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so we got to see only the first part, that it was additive transitions. You have more, you have 5 in total, right? Let's say categories for additive transitions. But the most important ones were adding information, with also additionally, furthermore, moreover, in addition to impact, as a matter of fact, referencing, right? Considering this, concerning that problem, regarding this situation, as for that, with regards to that problem, on the subject of, and looking at, right? When you want to mention something that you mentioned before, or when you want to return to something, and clarifying or identifying important information, right? Especially, in other words, to put another way. So we already practiced with those. We are now going to go to the next one, and that is adversative transitions. Here we have 4, but one more time, we're going to practice 2 that are the most important ones and that can be confusing. Contrasting, that's showing conflict, and conceding a point, right? Both can be sometimes understood as the same, but there is a very interesting difference to understand. And that's what we're going to learn today. So let's read first, please, Michaela, the first one, contrasting, showing conflict.
Okay, contrasting, showing conflict, common terms, however, conversely, common phrases, in contrast, on the contrary, on the one hand, on the other hand, by way of contrast. Samples, however, there is still more research needed. On the other hand, the 1997 study does not recognize these outcomes.
Good. Thank you, Michaela. So this is the most common one, contrast, right? In contrast, you only need to show a conflict between two things, right? And again, the easiest way to understand this idea is by saying that you like one color, however, the other person likes a different color, right? That you like soccer, however, the other person likes basketball. Okay, so you have to show 2 different ideas. There's not a way to connect those 2 ideas. They have something in common, of course, but they show a contrast. They show a conflict. Okay, the 2 ideas have to conflict. And if you show a conflict between that, you are using this correctly. All right, but we are going to also read the next one, because you're going to read, you're going to write examples, 4 in total, 2 with contrast and 2 with conceding a point. And it needs to be clear that the first 2 are contrast and the next 2 are only concession. Okay, that's what we call it, concession, and as they call it here, conceding a point. So let's read also that one, please, Michaela, conceding a point.
Okay, conceding a point. Nevertheless, nonetheless, although plus complete sentence plus comma, despite phrase, admittedly, regardless, even so, even though, plus complete sentence plus comma, in spite of phrase, notwithstanding phrase, regardless of phrase. Examples, nevertheless, X is still an important factor. In spite of this fact, New York still has a high standard of living. Although this may be true, there are still other factors to consider.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to write just 2 examples so that you can see again the very clear difference between those 2, and you can write the 4 examples yourself. All right, remember that the first one is contrast. All right, so you have to show a conflict. The conflict has to be evident. Here we're going to say in contrast or on the contrary. All right, so again, very simple. You can say right? Bolivia believes, we're talking of a country, right? That the best idea is to invest, right, all the money. What could it be? All right. All right, converting all private, sorry, my mistake over here, converting all private, I don't know, right, companies into public ones. Okay, so that's one idea, right? And again, I'm making it complex so that you can also work on examples like this. That's something that a country believes. And of course, it's not going to be like that, but that's just an example, right? Now you can use any of those. Very simple. We said we were going to use on the contrary, right? On the contrary, right? Let's say Brazil believes that it is better to, all right, focus on international and better to focus. It is better on international, I don't know, relationships to see a better result. Okay, I'm just making that up. So okay, you can see something very simple and very easy to spot is that you have two different ideas. Okay, what one country believes and what another country believes. Okay, that's it. Contrast is always going to be that. Two very different positions, or at least two contrasting positions. But we are going to work on the same example, but the next part is going to be different. Because instead of on the contrary, now we're going to use one of these. And if we use one of these, we have to use concession, right? Mainly because of the, let's say, of the structure of the sentence, we have to use one of these. Actually, ones with the commas. Why? Because the other ones need a different structure. And perhaps I'm going to write also that one. All right, so admittedly, it means, again, concession. It also, let's say something like this, okay? It also record, okay? Where's the W? Okay, sorry, it's because my keyword is in French, I think. Okay, now, good, recognizes the importance of working international, let's say the same. Improve their situation. Okay, so this is an example, and this is how we need to use both of them. You can see many people use they as synonyms, on the contrary, admittedly, or when they say however and nonetheless. But actually, they are not going to be synonyms. One of them has to be for contrasting two different ideas. And a concession is when an idea is usually in a certain way, but also accepts different ideas. Or when you mention something and you can complement that by recognizing concession. Okay, and if you remember, the common idea that I gave you is about the rain, right? You can say, I love, right, when it's raining, or when it rains. I love when it rains. And you say, nonetheless, I'm not going to go out now because I'm sick. Okay, it's raining, but I'm not going to go out because I'm sick. Okay, so you usually love raining, but this time you are not going to enjoy that it's raining because you are sick, right? So it's just a change of something, or the recognition of something that is also important. I want to know if this is clear. Michaela, so that you can work now on 4 examples. If you have any questions, please let me know.
I think it's okay, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, good. So let's work on that, please. 4 examples, 2 examples with contrast, and 2 examples with a concession. Just be careful. Most of the concession words have a different, let's say, structure. If you work with although, though, even though, take a look at that structure because the formula is a little bit different. Okay, but let's do it. I'm going to check how it went. Let's have 4 minutes. If you finish before the 4 minutes, please, you let me know. Right, I'm going to leave it there. And let's start with the timer. All right, they can be long ideas, but I'm going to see how you're doing, and according to that, we're going to see if we can check that or if we need more time. Okay, so let me see. I think you have two so far, right? Because again, they are very long, but let's read the two that you have so that we can see how you're doing so far, Michaela, please.
Okay. To program a Zoom meeting at 2 p.m. is a good idea for the staff. However, the manager could not connect to it because she is in the Philippines. The musical theater industry usually is about melodic songs. Conversely, Hamilton is one of the most famous musicals and just has, well, rap songs.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's analyze, okay? We're going to analyze if they are okay, if they are contrast, or if they are concession, all right? And to do that very briefly, remember the two very, very common examples that I gave you before is about the colors, right? When you say one thing and about that thing, you say something that is contrary to that, that's contrast, right? The common one, it can be I like blue, right? And you connect that idea to, okay, sorry, however, right, she likes green, let's say, right? That's contrast, right? But you can say concession, and concession is going to be I like blue, nonetheless, right? That contrast, or sorry, concession, nonetheless, I want, right, to use the red, I don't know, pants today. Okay, so that is going to be the idea over here. No, because I'm talking about the specific pants. So what is the main difference that you see? Is that in the first one, you see two completely different ideas, right? I like blue and then she likes green, however. But when you don't see contrasts, when you don't see completely different ideas, but you see something here, and just because of an exception or something happened, it is not like this, or it seems that it's not like this, you can use concession, right? When you recognize something, when you change something just because of something different, or when you are not directly comparing two different situations, right? I'm showing you that because if you recognize in number one, right, this is good. You have infinitive, it can be infinitive, or the best option, remember, is always going to be gerund, right? So programming a Zoom meeting at 2 p.m. is a good idea for the staff. However, the manager could not connect right to it because she is in the Philippines. So if you analyze, those are not two different ideas. You're just saying that it's a good idea, but because of a certain situation, the manager could not connect, right? So you're not showing he likes blue, she likes red. You are showing he likes blue. Nonetheless, because of some things, it was not possible, right? That's why here the however is not going to be the best option because this is concession. So it means that you need to choose from these other options in Kaila. Nevertheless, nonetheless, despite of that, admittedly, regardless, and so on. Okay, any of those. I'm going to change that, all right, for you, one of them. So let's use the one that you used down below. No, it's actually you were using for contrast also. So let's use nonetheless, right? Just to have that. But once again, let me know, please, before going to the next one, if you have questions about that, why I'm changing this from contract to concession. Let me know, please, Mikael.
Okay. Maybe I need to add some context to the sentence because to me, the manager is in Philippines, and I know that in Philippines, 2 p.m. for us is like 2 a.m. for she, and because of that, is not a good idea as a Zoom meeting in that hour.
Good. Yes, I believe that now if you put emphasis on that, it is going to be contrast. Why? Because here it seems, right, that you say it's a good idea, but in the next part, you don't say that it's not a good idea. You're just saying that it seems to be a good idea, but because of that, this person couldn't do
Okay, okay.
it, right? But if you put that clear, very clear, and you say, right, we, the staff, we believe that it's a good idea to have a meeting at 2 p.m., right? Because that's a good time for us. But you can say, however, the manager doesn't believe that it is a good idea because of the time difference, right? So if you put that clear, you say, we
Okay.
believe it's a good idea, but however, she believes it's not a good idea, then it's contrast. Okay, so
Okay.
yes, that's something you can do. All right, so great, you have that one. But let's check the next one. Let's see how it's working. Number two, it says the musical theater right industry usually is about melodic songs. Conversely, Hamilton, all right, is one of the most famous musicals and just has rap songs. Here it has to be in plural, right? A rap
Yes, yes.
song or rap songs.
Rap
Okay,
songs. Yes.
good. Good. Yes, I believe that in this way you are showing a contrast between usual musical theaters. This can also be in a certain way. Let's show over here a type of concession because that's what usually they do. But I think that in this case, it's a little bit clearer, right? That this is usually right the musical theater industry, and this is what Hamilton does, right, in a daily basis. So that's, I believe, a contrast over there. So that's it. I'm going to give you then more time. Let's try to first sorry, we're going to do that one. Let's try to first complement this one. We need then one more time for concession and one more time for contrast, or sorry, one more sentence for contrast, Michaela.
Okay.
Let's have, let's say, yes, 3 more minutes and we check those ones, all right?
Okay.
Good, let's do it, please. Okay, and sorry, one more time as you're writing, remember that to talk about contrast, the difference has to be clear. It has to be clear that he likes that and she doesn't like that, or he likes something and she likes something else, right? I believe it's a good idea, but they don't believe it's a good idea. All right. So it has to be very, very direct the connection. If not, it is going to be concession because in concession, I like this, but just because of this exception, I'm going to do that. All right. So it's going to be an exception. Conceding is more an exception more than a contrast. Okay, just that one, please, to give more ideas. All right, so we're going to take a look at that one more time, see how it is going, to continue working on the next two elements that they are going to be very simple. This is usually the one that it's a little bit tricky to get. All right, but you are working on the last one. Let's finish that one, please, Michael. I'm not going to take the timer anymore. Finish the last one. You tell me when you do it, and you read your examples, please. All right, and just in case, be careful with the next one because I believe that it's going to be a good example, but the other one, either way, is more like it doesn't matter, right? If this is good or not, it's like it doesn't matter the option. That's for mainly for number 4, right? The other category for adversity. All right, so be careful with that one. In this one, you can use even so, even though, in spite of, notwithstanding, regardless of, admittedly, regardless, although, nonetheless, and nevertheless, if it's concession.
I think I finished.
So let's take a look at that, Michael. I'm going there to take a look at those examples. Let us start, please, with a contrast or concession. The first one. Let's see what it is.
Okay, for the next meeting, we believe that it is a good idea to program it at 2 p.m. However, the manager does not believe it because of the time zone from the Philippines.
Good, very good. The next one, please.
The opinion of the customer is very important. Even so, it is not implied that the customer always has the reason. And the last, we really want to support the civic strike. Nevertheless, we needed go to work.
Exactly, right? We needed to go, right? There you need infinitive because of need, right?
Okay.
Good, great, great. So I see, right? It's very clear that in number 1, it is contrast because you have one idea that says one thing and the other idea that says the opposite, right? It has to be like that. It has to be the opposite. Whereas in the next case that it's also, I think, very, very good, you're saying something that you usually think, but you are adding something else that seems to be contrasting, but it's not contrasting. It's just an exception that you're making, right? Even though it is important, they are not always right, right? So it's like the exception to the rule. And the same in the next one, right? Nevertheless, we need or needed to, oh, sorry, we needed to go over there, right? So I'm not going to change that one. You're going to correct that one. We needed to work. But that's it. It's a desire that you had, but it was not possible. So I think to me it is clear and it's good. I don't know if you have any final questions or if you are doubting about something before going to the next one, Michaela.
No, teacher. Thank you.
Good. Great. Let's go then to the next part, that is causal transitions. All right, causal transitions. Remember that you have more categories. If you analyze in this presentation, you have a lot of words. You can work with the other ones. If you have questions, you can let me know. Okay, but with me, we're going to work the most common ones that you have to use for your essay and for any essay that you're going to write. That are the ones in green. Here, only two. They are kind of the same, but it's like you are focusing one of them in the cause and the other one on the result. But you can use the same in the same sentence, and you're going to see that it's very interesting. So let's read first showing cause or reason, please, Michaela.
Okay, showing cause or reason. Common terms, since plus complete sentence plus comma plus second idea, as, same as above. Common phrases, due to phrase, owing to the fact, because of phrase. Example, since the original sample group was too small, researchers called for more participants. Due to budgetary demands, funding will be cut in half.
There you go, right? So here you're talking about cause. Since is the same as because, right? So you say because the original sample group was too small, comma, researchers called for more participants, right? And due to, owing to, because of, they are the same. So because of is the synonym of these two, due to and owing to. So it's the same idea, right? Because of this, comma, I did that. So you're talking about the cause, the reason of something. So the other one is the same, but the focus one more time is not the cause or the reason, is the results. So let's read also that one, please, Michaela, showing the effects.
Okay, showing the effects, results, common terms, consequently, therefore, thus, accordingly, as a result of this, for this reason, as a consequence. Therefore, we can conclude that this was an asymmetric catalyst. As a consequence, many consumers began to demand safer products.
Good. Thank you, Michaela. So in this case, I believe that this can be very clear. In case you have questions, let me know. But let's work directly, please, in just two examples. One example showing cause and one example showing the effects. Use any of those words, all right? It's up to you. But remember, if you use one of these that are in bold, try to use this formula, right? The punctuation rule is different for these ones that have the explanation. Just that one. Let's have please 3 minutes and we check what you got. All right, two examples, one with showing cost, one with showing effects, please. Okay, so it's a little bit more than that. We are with 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's take a look at that one. And I believe that we're going to have the time to finish even with the last category, that it's going to be great. With that, you should be good to work on your essay. Remember that it's important that you can start working on that. This is one of the most important elements that you need to use, because that's the way you're going to connect all your essay. And the next part is also going to be very important, because we're going to learn to work on the introduction and every single detail. And it's going to start on Friday. All right, but let's see how it went. Michaela, let's read your examples, please.
Due to the lack of products in the last months, the company decides to change the warehouse supervisor. And we accidentally lost the base with the information of the customers. For this reason, we need to do overtime to make it again.
Great, I think it's working very good, right? Usually, again, this doesn't bring any type of problems because it's straight to the point, right? Cause, effect. So I believe that is working good. I don't have any observations. I don't know if you have any questions, Michaela.
There are like a specific difference in the situations to use these words due to or for this reason or because of that, because in the last sentence I can use because of that we need to do overtime.
Yes, in this case, they are synonyms. You can use any of those in this case, right? You have a due to, owing to, because of, right? They are going to be synonyms in this case. Over here, as a result, for these reasons, as a consequence, they are going to be synonyms in that case. Now, to decide which one you're going to use here between cause and an effect, it only depends on you. If you want to put emphasis on the cause, you're going to use these terms or phrases. If you want to put emphasis over here, you want to use that one. Okay, I'm just going to give a very short example to show that. Okay, very, very short. That is this one. I'm going to use, instead of because, since. And this is a very interesting rule. If you use since as because in the second part, you also have to use a comma. All right, remember the very common thing. You say, I want to travel, okay, to travel to the US because, all right, I want to see, what could it be? No, because I want to go to Las Vegas, right? That's my sentence. So with this sentence, we're going to work the two categories that you have, all right? So the first one is using since. You know that since is the same as because. But the rule says that's something that is not there, but it's in the other document that you have in the presentation as well. You have to use comma. All right, even though it's in the middle, you have to use comma with since. So it's going to be at the beginning or at the end. They want to correct over there, but grammatically speaking, it's going to be good. Now, to use the other words, you do exactly the same, but you place the word in the country. Here, this is the reason, right? Since I want to. So if you want to focus on the reason, you use those words. If you want to focus on the result, you are going to use this one, the first part. So for result, you have these words. Let me see over here. As a result, for this reason, let's use as a result. Oh, sorry. Consequently, no, actually, they are going to be the same over there, right? So let me rethink this idea. Since I want to travel, it will be here that this is the reason, right? So I want to travel to the US because I want to go to Las Vegas. All right. Now, here, we're going to try to think in a different way. If you use the other one, we need to change the order because it has to be the result of something. Okay, so I want to go to Las Vegas. All right. And it's going to be a little bit weird for this reason. If you had other options, I want to travel through the US. All right. So once again, you are only putting emphasis on either the let's say cause or the reason for why you want to do something or the result of another thing. But again, the only thing you're going to think over here is whether you want to put emphasis on one or the other one, but they are going to be synonyms and they can be used with the same situation. All right, here was a little bit tricky because the usual order is this one at the beginning, like we learned over here, since, first idea, comma, second idea, but this is an alternative order to replace because. But that's it. I don't know again if you have any questions or doubts related to that, Mikael.
No, teacher. No,
All right.
thank you.
Okay, good. No, you're welcome. Let's then finish. We have the time to finish, and it's more than enough. The last category that it's going to be sequence of transitions. And actually, we are going to read the three of them because we are only going to write one example that involves the start of something, the continuation of something, and the conclusion of something. Okay, and it's going to be only three ideas connected like that in a sequence. So let's read all of them, please, Michaela. Organizing by number, showing continuation, and concluding or summarizing.
Okay, organizing by number, initially, firstly, secondly, thirdly, first, second, third. First of all, to start with, in the first, second, third place, samples, initially, subjects were asked to write their names. First of all, dolphins are the smartest creatures in the sea. Showing continuation, afterwards, eventually, next, after, this, that. Examples, after that, subjects were taken to their rooms. Afterwards, they were asked about their experience. Concluding, summarizing, ultimately, finally, therefore, altogether, overall, briefly. Common phrases to conclude as a final point, in conclusion, given these points, in summary, to sum up. Ultimately, these results will be valuable to the study of X. In conclusion, there are three things to keep in mind, A, B, and C.
Okay, thank you very much. So once again, this is very useful for working on essays, of course, but right now you're only going to give me three ideas that are related and connected, right? So you say initially, first idea, period. Afterwards, the second idea, then period or semicolon, finally, or therefore, or altogether, comma, and you give me the conclusion or the summary, okay? To give the conclusion is better if you use ultimately, finally, therefore can be as well, to conclude, in conclusion, and given these points, right? If you use the other ones, are going to be mainly for summarizing instead of a conclusion. The conclusion can be a summary, but not always. All right, so you decide. You can decide if you're going to give a conclusion in this example, or if you're going to give a summary of the other 2 points that you mentioned before. All right, but let's do it, please, Michaela. One example, but it's all together. One with organizing by number, one with showing continuation, one with conclusion or summarizing, but all of them have to be connected into one big idea. All right,
Okay.
let's do it, please. Again, we're going to have the 3 minutes. If you finish before, let me know. If not, we check at that time. All right, so we're with those 3 minutes. Again, let's see how you're doing. And according to that, we continue working. Actually, we're going to conclude the class with that one. Okay, I think you got it. So let's read, please, Michaela, the example that you wrote.
Okay, initially we need to design the post and branding for the new products before the end of the year. After that, we will submit it to management to seek approval. To conclude, we will start the promotion of the new products in February.
Great, very good. Thank you, Michaela. That's great. All right, I think it's working very, very well. It is clear how and why you're using those transitional words over there, punctuation and everything. I think it's working very well. So I think that's it. With that, again, we finished actually working on this one. Actually, only the most important things, right? We didn't cover everything, but you can check, please, the rest of the categories by yourself. Either you can use them on your essay or in the examples that you want to write. Even, you write examples for the 9 new words. Remember also that for tomorrow you need to upload that. If you didn't do it, you have until tomorrow to submit the second unit's 9 new words, plus finishing and correcting all the possible words during these 2 days of this second unit. Okay, today it finishes, but you have until tomorrow to submit that. And Friday we start with unit 3. So I don't know again if you have any questions, comments before finishing the class with this. Actually, Nika, let me know, please.
No, teacher, it's great. Thank you so much.
All right, good. So again, try to work please on your essay. Remember that it's kind of long and it can be complicated to work that just in the last week. At least with this information and with the one we're going to cover on Friday, I believe you're going to be able to work at least on the introduction and the first body paragraphs so that you have that and you only have to check the last details for the last day of this course. Okay, so that's it on my side. As always, please, Michaela, I'm sending the survey that you should be able to see now. Let's answer that, and that's it. I hope you have a good night, and I'll see you on Friday to start the next unit.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye, good night.